So big thank you to Dave Maconi from the Brains and Gains podcast. He threw me the ball, passed me the baton when it comes to this topic specifically. Couldn't have come at a better time because usually at the end of every year, right around this time, I start to review things that, I entered the year thinking I knew, uh, what things that I kind of self-correct. But this goes a little deeper. This goes way back. So when I first started lifting, what things, had I been able to sit that young man down, would I tell him so that he could avoid some of the mistakes I made along the way? So the first one, really simple here, and this one I think really starts to make sense once you have formed all your habits, right? You have your rituals, you have all these things that you're doing on a daily basis to like water this very needy plant that is your bodybuilding. And I know you guys are gonna be like, man, these ratios, they're everywhere, and they kind of sort of are. So bear with me. And this is just simply that there's a good chance that 80% of your results are coming via 20% of your efforts. So there's a lot of dead weight there. There's a lot of baggage in these systems that take quite a bit of effort to complete on a daily basis. Take yourself back to group projects in school. Yeah, 80% of the results, the reason you're going to get that good grade is because of 20% of the efforts within the group. And there's a lot of people here who are not really contributing a whole lot. So the same thing can be said when it comes to all the things you are carrying in that metaphorical backpack to do all the things that you feel you need to do in order to progress. And it's worth sifting through these things. Very obvious one for me was the fact that I felt that, and this is just what was out there, that 7 meals a day, that's what I needed to eat. And this was very time consuming to make happen. My energy, like my mental focus was constantly on the clock and making sure that I got these meals in, when in reality I would have, it's quite comical to you guys because a lot of you guys know better at this point, I would have gotten the exact same results eating 3 to 4 meals, so long as it was, and this is assuming that the calories and the protein were right, which is just another issue, would have gotten the exact same results with 3 to 4 meals had the calories and the protein matched up. So good example of that, right? So it's 7 meals turns into 3 to 4. It's not 80-20, but in regards to like where my mind was, my attention, my focus, how it would conflict with other things in life, that was a big issue. And really it was the total protein, the total calories that was moving me along in the right direction. There was a lot of wasted motion with like how many times throughout the day I felt I had to stop and get these meals in. While we're here, kind of a similar note, it was the caloric surplus that was helping me put on muscle, right? The caloric surplus with enough protein, but my caloric surplus was like way too large, and I probably could have trimmed some of the fat, like legit could have trimmed some of the fat had I identified, okay, what is a more reasonable caloric surplus? All this beyond this point is really not serving me. Training volume is another one. I know for me is the case. Like when I look back at some of the things that I was doing, let's take it pretty far back. I don't know, maybe I probably did 30, 35 sets for like my chest, when in reality, it was probably just these movements that were really moving the needle. And anything beyond that point, well, was just kind of a waste of jewels. To this day, as a coach, when I have incoming athletes, that is where I start. It's like, okay, and I let them know this, okay, this is what you're doing, right? But this is really what's actually driving the progress thus far. So a lot of people think I'm just going to add more things, make their life a little bit more complex. But in reality, what I end up doing more often than not is getting rid of a lot of things that aren't really serving us and focusing on doing the things that are more likely to be strong contributors to our results, focusing on making those things better. And again, this example kind of shows how far we have come. But years ago, a big thing was that these athletes would come with this like huge list of supplements that they were taking. And the supplement list in itself was like hard to keep up with. So these people quite often, they were keeping up with everything else. Like they were showing up to the gym consistently. They were eating in a consistent fashion. And because all these things kind of came to be together, they felt they were almost afraid to like let go of this list of many supplements, that a lot of these supplements like they didn't necessarily need. These supplements weren't strong contributors to the results that they had been getting up until this point. So it's like in some cases like $200-300 worth of supplements that they have to buy every 4 to 6 weeks, that in reality was contributing negligible to like nothing in regards to like the progress they had made up until this point. So you always want to scan for this. And this is something that, you know, you think you're beyond that point. It's like, okay, I have a good idea of what is pushing me forward. And I think it's these things, when in reality, no, go in there, like do budget cuts. Quite often, it's not always about what things we need to add to what we're doing, but what things do we have to get rid of that are just like tagging along for the ride. They're part of this group project. They're going to get that credit that they don't deserve. All right, next one kind of coincides with the first one. These are no particular order, and that is never stop learning. Never stop learning. I see this happen way too frequently with people who think they know a little something. They're like, all right, I got this. Usually somewhere around year 3 to 5 of their lifting, and they kind of end up falling into like this cult, this tribe, and they just don't know nearly as much as they think they do. And I've fallen into this like many times over, where thought I had a handle on my bodybuilding. I knew basically all I needed to know. And in reality, here's the thing. It's like if you are sifting through your bodybuilding, making it more efficient, right? Well, this gives you more time to spend learning on like what things can potentially be strong contributors to your bodybuilding, or what things are the strongest contributors. First one here is going to be, or something that you should strongly consider, is having a mentor, a Sherpa, a guide. For me, when I first started lifting, I was just this lost little 16-year-old kid in the gym, and a personal trainer by the name of Otto, like, came over. He's like, yo, can I help you? Wrote me up a plan. Look, in hindsight, that plan kind of outdated. Nevertheless, like, it got me going in the right direction, because at a certain point I was able to go back and see that, man, like this Otto dude didn't know as much as I thought he did. It made me almost reluctant to pick more mentors along the way. But here's the thing, like when it comes to the mentors you pick, at a certain point, like the goal is to kind of surpass them. Like you want to basically find yourself climbing from branch to branch and going higher and higher up that tree, that metaphorical tree. really our first impression mentors, right? You know how that goes. It's like in hindsight, you're like, damn, like they didn't know as much as I thought they did, but they served their utility in like getting you this far along the path, right? So, for example, my first grade teacher, Miss Lucy, no hate, Miss Lucy, but I probably know more than you at this point, not just when it comes to like, hey, you showed me how to read, but just I think in general, maybe I'm wrong, but there's a good chance. Nevertheless, she served that role in getting me from here to here. So the same thing with like anyone who is open to kind of take you under their wing. It's like tag along. These people are very, very important, and you need to find yourself at least one person who has been there, who's gotten a little bit further than you, to kind of help you push you in the right general direction. And again, never stop learning, never stop being curious, just in general. So important because this is, year 3 and 5. I will see a lot of people who they're like, I know pretty much all I need to know. Or sometimes like later on in life, kind of the same deal. Like they become these old heads that it's like, I got this. So you can bottleneck yourself quite early by not being curious about what can I do to improve. So hit the books, study. This is really, really important. Number 3 is going to be simple. Stay injury free. Like that is the biggest bottleneck when it comes to why people are unable to progress beyond a certain point. Bodybuilding, compared to a lot of the other iron game sports, compared to a lot of other things you can do, such as like running, right? It's quite safe. Nevertheless, what constantly happens is people get to their 30s and 40s, and a lot of the dumb things they did in their 20s end up creating that bottleneck where they've arrived to that point where, okay, you're going to have to look at your bodybuilding differently going forward, when in reality, you can make progress when it comes to your bodybuilding, especially if it's drug-free, like in your 40s, in your 50s. I think years from now, like 60s is going to be like not uncommon. Like that's a personal goal of mine. A little bit more of a somber note, a little bit less positive. I think I have a strong suspicion that I know what my bottleneck will be at a certain point, and that is an injury that I sustained in 2008. Literally made it so that 2 years of my bodybuilding career were spent, they just weren't fun. I was just kind of riding the bench most of the time. So at a certain point, I do think that's going to come back, bite me in the butt. Right now, it's kind of like a dormant volcano. I have it under control. We're doing good. But I do think at a certain point that is going to come back and bite me in the butt. So don't be like me. Keep yourself healthy. Make this a high priority. Muscle and strength pyramids. Adherence, right? It's like the thing at the bottom. It's like the most important thing, really, if you want to get anywhere. So when it comes to a committed athlete, a committed bodybuilder, your health status really does determine, when it comes to the training pyramid, how high up you can climb. So keep yourself healthy, and this will make it so that you can enjoy many, many years where you can still, be better than the previous year. Training is for life, right? This is my number 4. So you're doing this, you should be doing this for the rest of your life. Just my opinion. I think that's one that I probably won't change my opinion on. There is a lot of parallels, a lot of things that if you listen closely, like training will whisper at you, not just training, but all the things that you do when it comes to your bodybuilding. There's like these whispers of wisdom that are worth listening to, because they can help you when it comes to other things in life. This is regardless of where you are at in life, because as you change and as you mature and as you grow up, um, well, great, because that's still being accounted for. So you 10 years from now will be a very different person. But as you're like doing your thing and existing in this make believe world that is like bodybuilding, that is training, it's still you in that environment. And there's a very good chance that you in this bodybuilding environment, well, shoot, that's probably how you manage a lot of other things in life, right? So it's important that you are keen on listening to those whispers, and a lot of the errors, a lot of the mishaps, a lot of the ways that you get in your own way in bodybuilding. Guess what? You're probably doing that outside of the gym as well. Number 5, last one here, really, really, really simple one, and that's just like sometimes the horizon can distract us. It's like, okay, you kind of know where you want to get to, and you almost have to, in a way, separate yourself from like what's back there really far away, almost intangible. Sometimes it can be a little discouraging. You almost got to stop looking at that. And what you need to do is break that down into, okay, what procedures must be followed on a day-to-day basis to get myself there. And yeah, on your track, instead of focusing on that big mountain back there, it's like, okay, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. Focus on doing that as pristinely as possible. You're no longer even thinking about where it is that you want to get to, but more so focus on all the things that you need to do in order to get there. And here's a kick. Like it's a long journey to get to a lot of our bigger, slightly longer term goals. So it gives you a lot of time to think when it comes to, the whole, while you're looking down on your feet and it's left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. And what it does, it's you kind of circle back to the first point that 80% of your results are coming from 20% of your efforts. So you're going to find ways to make it more efficient, make that backpack lighter, so that you can get there. You're more likely to get there to begin with, and you get there in a more efficient manner. While you're on this trek, left foot, right foot, you're also learning, right? And these things will apply to how you approach your process, make it again cleaner, more efficient. And of course, number 3, while you're doing the left foot, right foot thing, is like stay injury free, right? Because if you get hurt somewhere in the trail, it's like you ain't gonna make it up there. And number 4, like while you're here in your zone, just doing your things, pay attention to what your training is trying to tell you, because what you do in the bodybuilding world, especially the things again where you're getting in your own way when it comes to school, career, relationships, you're probably messing up there in a very similar fashion.